Here's a brief but annoying message to let you know that you could have first heard this episode 9 months ago if you were a subscriber to our Iron Filing Society Patreon offering.
For the price of a pint and a St Clement's each month, you can get up to 4 episodes a week, 9 months before the rest of the world gets them. Early access to regular episodes, lots of other marvellous benefits, and there's absolutely no adverts or brief but annoying messages like this that will get right on your ticks.
Find out more and subscribe now at tftimemachine.com/ironfilings.
Here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, this is it!
This is Top Flight Time Machine. I am Andy Hotbody Dawson. Pow, pow, pow.
I am Sam Nifty Delaney, so what?
Welcome along to another edition of Life Logistics, where we attempt to sort your lives out for you according to the questions, queries, and I don't know. Yeah, questions and queries. That's pretty much it.
Questions and queries. We could have just as easily called it that.
Cries for help.
Although that could be another strand in the future. Questions and queries, because that's slightly different. Because people can then ask us questions.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That aren't logistics. I know, but the good thing about us in comparison, people like other people who might be podcasters or influencers or whatever, they say like this, right, I'm on a train, I've got 20 minutes, hashtag ask me anything, right? AMA. Yeah. And that's fair enough, but I think
like I've got 20 minutes, I'm bored.
Yeah.
So as a last resort, you fucking plebs,
ask me things about me,
ask
plebs.
me anything.
Do not,
within
under
reason.
any circumstances, share anything to do with yourselves, though, because that will depress me further. Ask me about mine. No, I think we need to think something else. It's ask me anything, but you reserve the right to not answer. That's the difference. So it's ask me some things, but not anything.
What you could put the question out there, but just put as an answer. Query denied.
Yeah, exactly. And so I mean, let's be honest, I'll probably answer most things, right? But when you, even against my best instincts, I will be helpless. But with you, I will read one. Right, here's one for you, Andy. And I read it, and you could even have a pre-recorded thing where you press the button, it just says, query denied. And then we just move on to the next one.
Yeah.
I think that will make our version a bit different.
There was an interview this morning on The Athletic with the Sunderland director of football.
Oh, yeah.
Christian Speakman, who I implicitly do not trust.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just trying to find it. There's a couple of really good bits. There's a lot of Jake Humphries kind of vibes coming from him.
Yeah. I reckon a club is going to employ Jake Humphries sooner or later as a director of football.
That's a very good shout.
I mean, the original... Yeah. Because don't forget, when Southampton hired, what's his name, the geezer who used to be the rugby boss. What was his name?
Yes, that's right.
Matey boy who won the World Cup. Anyway, they got him in because they were like, it doesn't matter whether you're special. It's not about the industry you're in, whether that be footballing or finance or anything in between. It's about knowing how to motivate people, and crucially, it's knowing how to optimise all the protocols within your organisation in order to gain those tiny margins, right? That was all going on. When did England win the World Cup? 2000
about 20 years ago,
I think they've won it since then as well. I think they won it another time. But that time, Clive Woodward, that was his name. And, I mean, I got a strong Tory vibe off of that bloke. But he got in there at Southampton to optimise their protocols, and it didn't make any difference to them that he was a rugby guy. I don't think it worked out because in the end Harry Redknapp was there and he couldn't make head nor tail of what was going on. But
it wasn't a good link.
It wasn't a good one. But it's no different with Jake Humphrey, is it? Jake Humphrey specialised. In actual fact, you would say, well, he's more connected to football than Clive Woodward was. Who do you reckon will go for it? I think it'll be Norwich City because they're his local club. But equally, it's the sort of thing you can imagine. It's the sort of thing you could imagine, fucking Watford suddenly doing. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, Watford feel as though they're ploughing their own furrow.
Actually, I was saying it because Watford do weird things, but actually they're next level weird, aren't they? I might make them my second team because they're really mental and they're quite this and that as well, aren't they?
Employ, sack, sack, rinse,
come
repeat.
Into my office. Hey, you, whatever your name is, come into my office. Guess what? I'll give you 3 guesses.
New boy.
New boy, come in. I got something to tell you. Guess. 3 guesses. Go. Is it that I'm sacked? Yeah, you got it in 1, motherfucker. Pack your bags.
You're smarter than I thought.
Pack your bags. Clear your desk. You're gone. I don't like you no more.
Here's a little quote from the Christian Speakman interview on The Athletic today, talking about our 12-year-old chairman, Kirill Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah.
He says, Sunderland are on a new journey.
Publess
chairman, yeah. Takes his dogs to the match. Sunderland are on a new journey under Kirill's ownership and leadership, Speakman says. And when we're doing our work around the community and with different partners, we sometimes talk about ourselves as a bit like a start-up.
Oh, no.
Oh
no.
You're comparing a football club there to a start-up. He says, to get where we've got so far, we've had to have a bit of a start-up mentality. People doing different things, working long hours. Red flag, long hours.
Yeah, don't fucking glorify long hours. That is one of the worst things you can do.
Jake Humphrey talk.
Yeah.
Trying to find solutions, create ideas. We've had to employ a lot of new people over a short period, implement a new strategy, make people understand what our values are.
Oh, God.
These are all things new companies do that can provide a buzz, and we want to keep that positivity.
It's not providing me with a buzz. Whatever the opposite of a fucking buzz is. That's
me either.
All those words like implement, strategy, values. Long hours. Fuck off. Those words are all buzzkill words, aren't they?
Yeah. Horrible stuff.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. But it's just another indication of where football's going.
They are refurbishing and expanding the canteen so that, in the words of Sporting Director Christian Speakman, it becomes a hub for players and staff, a place where they can all relax, eat, socialise. So he's just took the canteen and extended it, and now it's called the hub. And they've probably got a ping pong table in there now.
Fucking hell, bean bags.
They've probably just had like tables to eat your dinner at, bean bags, breakout area, all that kind of thing. Ugh.
Disgusting.
So,
anyway, it was really insulting. Like, Sunderland is a club. How long is it? When was Sunderland founded?
1879.
All right, so that's fucking old. That's older than West Ham. And there was a piece yesterday. I haven't read it. I think it was by your fellow Mackham. What's his name? The hipster's friend is in the Guardian.
Wilson.
Yeah, Jonathan Wilson. Yeah. About, I liked the headline, but I haven't read the article. But I will actually, because it's about football clubs being civic entities, right? And they are actually existed as they were a civic entity. They were community organisations. Yeah. That's what they were built for. And
they were for the workers to have something to do at the weekend, to go and watch the football.
Right. And so the thing is, I just feel that, stupid people feel that there's in everything, there's always, there has to be a dichotomy. There always has to be, you're either pro-profit or you're like a communist, right? It's I haven't got a problem with profit, and in fact football clubs should be allowed to make profit. Of course, I like the idea of them sort of competing financially to an extent, but if you run them with that start-up mentality, or like the mentality of some other fucking corporation, like an energy company or whatever the fuck it is, right, or a technology company, your only ambition then becomes profit. That the existence is dependent upon constant growth and a maximisation of profits, and therefore all that civic community side to it fades away. And we've seen this happening. It's not news. We've seen this happening. We've discussed it a lot between us, numerous times on this podcast. But when you actually hear it put in that language about a club that has existed since the 1870s, right, and has been part of this working class community, right, for over a century. And some cunt who probably hadn't heard of it until fucking 5 minutes ago, right, and his pubeless governor are fucking open. They're flagrantly saying, yeah, we're running it like a fucking start-up now. And you go, you fucking cunts. It's like you wouldn't go into a church and do that. But I tell you what, that'll be the next thing they do is they'll do it to churches next, right? I mean, I'm not a religious man, but churches exist. I'm not a religious man, but I'm a big fan of churches. In fact, I think it's
churches need a rocket up them. Let's be honest, don't they?
I think churches are actually buildings of interest to this
churches podcast. Churches are lovely.
They're amazing. And for too long, when you were a kid, or maybe you didn't do this, but I did. I walked around. There's churches fucking everywhere, and every church, apart from the horrible modern ones, but all the old ones you get in this country are fucking mad. It's like there's they look like sort of castles, right? And they're on every fucking street. Yeah. Sometimes you're just wandering along a residential street in the arse end of nowhere, and there's just some big fucking old church that's been there for hundreds of years with like stained glass windows. When you're a kid, you just think, stupid church. And then there's an age.
I don't want to go to church, it's boring.
Yeah, stupid church, fucking ghosts in it or something. I'm not going in there, right? And then you hit an age where you're like, oh, look at that lovely church. And I say it to my kids, I go, look at that church. And they go, what are you on about? Stupid church. Stop even talking about the church. You're giving me a boredom headache. And I'm like, don't be bored. Look at this incredible church, right? But also churches are good because I don't go in them as often as I would like. I would like to maybe do a series of pods where me and you just go into churches and then exchange notes, right?
Yeah.
But like
church chat.
Yeah, church chat. I think that would be really good, right? Because what's going on in them? The likes of me and you don't know.
No, I've got both. No, so church mooch.
Right. It's incredible because the likes of you and I, right? You weren't raised particularly religious, were you? You didn't have to go to church on Sunday.
No, not really.
No, right? So
I used to. I was about 7. So
we weren't big church goers, and in fact, we were like most British kids. We were like, church, I'm going to be sick, church. And now we're both men of an age where we're like, churches are the best. But what's brilliant is we don't know what goes on inside of churches. We don't know. I look at the churches all the time around my area. There's loads of good churches, and I'm always tempted. I see a lot of them when I'm out running, and I think, I better not go in this running gear, because I even think things like, what's the dress code in a church? My brother,
casual.
My brother, Cass Delaney, the QPR Terrace legend, when I don't think he still does this, he's a country squire now, but his stomping ground used to be Soho. It's where he's worked all his life since he was a teenager. And he revealed to me once that he had various churches that he took refuge in after long, boozy lunches. And, I mean, obviously, we know he's got form for falling asleep in houses of God.
Yeah.
Right,
it's so his nature, isn't it?
He did it in a nunnery. But to be fair to him, he must have clocked this. He is 7 years older than me, so he's like clocked it sooner than me. He's like, you're never lonely, or you're always safe when there's a church around. Because if he was feeling like I can't face work, or life's getting on top of me, or for instance I'm paralytic drunk and it's 3 PM, right? He would have churches. He'd go in.
I just need to check out for a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And he'd just go. But you know, people talk about mindfulness now, don't they? But I mean, if you go in a church, it's fucking quiet. You can't start looking at Twitter. I mean, I don't think they'd like that at all, right? And, you just go inside a fucking church and hang about. Complete silence. Look around you. You know, if you're my brother, you probably nod off. And I just think they're places of wonderful mystery. But a football club isn't that dissimilar, although it's much noisier and more disgusting. But the point is they both existed. They were both built as community hotspots, you might call them, right? Hubs, yeah, they're community hubs.
That's what Matey Boy's saying.
But now they've moved in.
Call it the hub.
Like these cunts have moved in, the high performance cunts, and they're trying to they've turned them into commercial enterprises. So I'm saying is, if they can do it to the football club like Sunderland, then how long before they come for the fucking churches? Because like you said, they need a rock out their ass. There's a lot of people. I tell you this: there's a lot of fucking these property developers who seem to have free reign in this country. I guarantee you that they're lobbyists, right, who have privileged access to this government. They probably won't to future governments, but they certainly do to this one, right? They would have definitely been lobbying government secretly to say, when can we knock down the churches? When can we knock down the churches and build luxury flats?
Playing fields. They got school playing fields, didn't they? 20 years,
they got
30 years ago.
And it'll be the churches next. There was a church where I used to live in another part of West London years ago that was actually, they kept the basic structure of the church, so it still looked like a lovely church. But they kept the stained glass windows, but inside they turned it into luxury residences.
Oh, apartments, etc.
So I'm surprised that isn't more prevalent. But to me, they'll be going, listen, right, there's all this
pubs. They'll want pubs to close down. Turn them into houses.
Prime real estate here, prime real estate. And what's sitting on them are these temples for worship that no one goes and uses because it's an outdated fucking religion that no one's interested in anymore. So how can you justify them having there where we could be creating employment, building luxury sex flats on them? And we know that's what they are, because we've talked about luxury flats before. We know they're only bought by the sex people. Okay?
Yeah.
And imagine how insulting that would be to God. Knocking down his fucking churches and building sex pads on it.
Well, would he not strike them with lightning?
I would fucking hope so.
In vengeance. You don't know, do you?
Well, who knows? Maybe we'll learn more once we go for our church mooch.
Jalapeño.
Have you got a favourite church, Sam?
Yeah, I do actually. Well, I've got a favourite local one. I can't remember what it's called. I went in it once at Christmas, but there was a geezer walking around he was just like a wizard, and he had a lantern, and there was like sort of like purple smoke emitting from it. And
coming out of
I'm not joking. That's what was going on.
Yeah, they do.
And I left.
Yeah,
I left because I went
a Catholic church.
Someone had told me there was a Christmas Carol concert, and I went, "Oh, okay, I'll go up the church for that. That sounds good." And my daughter was still quite young, and I said, "Look, come on, let's go and sing." And I thought we were going to go in there and sing "Hark the Herald Angels Sing" and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And there was not one song. There was not one of the bangers. Like, I didn't recognise a single song. They were all weird songs that half of them weren't even about Christmas.
Ones.
So I felt it was a trick. They'd tricked ordinary punters like me to come in and pad out the numbers.
They do that.
And then there's the geezer swinging his lantern around, and I looked at my daughter. I went, "Fuck this. We're off. Come on, we're gone. Come on, I'll take you for a fucking pizza."
My favourite church is Durham Cathedral.
Oh.
Now, if we're going to do a church mooch, we've got to do Durham Cathedral. It is it's known around here as the Big Dog.
The Big Dog, yeah.
Because it is easily the biggest one around. That film that I'm in, The Old Oak, it's out at the end of September. Yeah. I've already seen a preview screening of it. Yeah. And there's a scene inside Durham Cathedral in it. And it took my breath away.
Wow.
Because obviously it's beautifully filmed, you know.
Yeah.
Ken Loach knows how to knock a film out.
He's not fucking,
you know what I mean?
He's not dicking about, is
he? It's beautifully filmed. It took me back to when we went there on a school trip when I was about 10. And I'm just like, I need to get back in there and have a mooch about. It's incredible.
Well, the thing is, when you see an amazing church, and often I'm guilty of only going inside places like that when I'm like visiting, like when we were in Copenhagen recently, we went in a cathedral there, right? And you're awestruck. And often you're there and you're thinking, fucking hell, I don't think I've ever been in St Paul's Cathedral or Westminster Abbey in my fucking life, right?
Yeah.
And I've lived in this city my whole life, right? And yet you go abroad, you go in them, and when you look around, and again, I'm a man of no religious faith at all. In fact, I was raised as a quite vehement atheists, like my dad, who'd been raised Catholic, like... I don't know what went on, but he absolutely hates religion, right? And my mum also had been raised by nuns, and so she wasn't that keen on it, because like the nuns were always whacking around the head and stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but you go into a church and you look at these old cathedrals, and like they're awe-inspiring, like you say, Durham Cathedral. You look around, and it takes your breath away, doesn't it? And then you realise you understand a little bit of what faith means. You think, this is what love looks like, because these I hesitate to call them mad cunts, but if I do, I mean it affectionately and with respect. Because these mad cunts back in the olden times, they were building meticulously detailed and beautiful buildings. And by the way, they didn't have JCBs or cranes. I don't even know if the cunts had proper ladders back then. Right?
I don't know. Human pyramid, I guess.
They did it somehow or another. But these things are incredible. And the only way you would have got through all of that is if you had a complete, authentic, undying faith in and love for your God.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
you've got to hand it to them, haven't you?
I dabbled in Catholicism about 20 years ago.
Right.
After my daughter was born, because me now ex-wife was raised a Catholic.
Right.
And she wanted our children to be baptised as Catholics, and I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not fussed.
Fine.
I've heard the schools are good.
Fine.
So yeah.
I'll book a room at the nearest pub and we'll have a spread after. You're just thinking of the spread. Yeah. Well, that's what I would have been doing if there was a christening on the horizon.
So we had to go along to christening classes or something. I can't remember what they were about now. But you go along, and there was 2 or 3 other couples who were looking to get their kids christened as well. And you go on a kind of a journey into, the religion itself, and talk about things and that. But not just the people who were going to get their kids baptised, the people who were the volunteers who in and around the church who would get in touch with you and guide you through all this. And you had to go to church fairly regularly on Sunday morning for Mass.
It's fair enough, because if not, people are just cashing in to use the church, aren't they?
Yeah, because apparently the schools are good, so people are just trying to get Catholicised for the good schools.
Yeah.
So you got to do your bit first. So we were going, and the thing was, even though I am as atheist as they come, like yourself, I was really blown away by the sense of community.
Yes.
Within the church people.
Yeah.
Everyone's nice to each other. Everyone's kind, friendly. There's a few of them who are a bit cunty, but you get that everywhere, don't you?
You get that everywhere, yeah.
There's low-level cuntiness.
I think that's it. And I often think, there's a lot of mental health problems nowadays. I'm not going to start getting into that, don't worry. But I do think that it's because people lack community and faith. And it's often... and I think part of it is, religion... for most of the fucking existence of human civilization, religion was front centre for everyone. So it gave everyone a sort of a reason to live, a belief that they were here for a reason, a faith that someone was looking after them and looking over them, but also just other human beings that you could form connections with.
That's the thing. The community thing, I think, completely trumps the faith thing.
Yes.
The faith thing underpins it, but it's somewhere to go to, however many times a week you want to go, however involved you want to get in all the volunteering stuff.
Yeah.
Tea mornings, coffee mornings.
Yeah, exactly.
All that kind of thing.
That doesn't
exist.
It's
a little club.
And then people...
It's like football.
Join the dots. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't exist. That's gone out of fashion, right? Religion is in crisis. We're increasingly secular society. And that is in line with everyone being fucking depressed, right? I'm not saying everyone's depressed, but there is obviously an increase in people feeling a bit lost and depressed, right? And I do think that's because what exists in its place? Fucking money and consumerism. And even the other things that brought us together, like football, which is really similar, that's been turned into a commercial entity as well. So there's less community about that as well. So
what is the number one thing that people get told to do when they say they've got mental health problems? Talk to someone.
Yeah.
Talk to someone. Yeah.
And
that's
the pubs
what goes
have gone.
on in
That's
churches.
the other thing that you touched upon as well. So the churches are in decline. Football clubs have just been cuntified. And pubs are completely disappearing. I think all 3 of these things should be nationalised. And I'll tell you what else should be as well.
I'm not sure pubs are the right prescription if you've got mental health problems.
No, I'm not saying you should go and booze. I'm not saying you should go and booze, but the pubs did offer human connection. I mean, I don't drink. I still like going to the pub, but it's not it's becoming for the privileged classes really going to the pub, isn't it?
Jesus, yeah, I guess so.
It's not like it once was.
But
so there are not many.
Are we
where
now
are all
saying
the hubs?
Are we now saying that we're now a pro-church podcast or predominantly a religious podcast?
We're saying that churches are... The status of churches on this podcast at the moment is they have become institutions of interest to us. And who knows? And we will investigate further in a special series of church-based podcasts. And after that, we will tell you what our findings are, and we may become pro-church.
I will trademark Church Mooch as soon as we finish this episode.
Well, so we'll start with the Christian churches, Catholic and the other lot, and then we might, in the interest of balance, have to branch out into mosques, synagogues, and other temples. There's an amazing Buddhist temple in Wimbledon.
I feel as though there's an element of gatekeeping at mosques. We couldn't just wander in the same way that we...
I don't know. Well, we must have some Muslim listeners. Get in touch, let us know. Perhaps they'll invite us. I've got a bloke, producer Mark, who, he has connections with almost all the religious communities in London. And so I don't want to know
why, but
I don't really know why, but he seems to know them all. And if ever I have a religious-based question, which I do from time to time, mainly culturally, not like theology, but like culturally, I'll go to him, and he just straight away will tell me, right, if you want to get inside, he'll be able to pull strings to get us inside a mosque, but he'll also brief us on matters of etiquette and respect.
Yeah.
And and the other ones, I don't know, probably easy to get in. So anyway, covered.
That doesn't cover any of the questions that have been sent in. Unfortunately, we've got time for one, I reckon.
Okay.
We'll just have a look on the list here. Where are we? Joe Barnes says, "I'm selling my car, but don't know anything about cars. Advice on haggling with the bloke that's coming to look at it."
Well, I would refer him to my selling the car to the squaddy. I mean, I know it's lazy for us to just refer them to previous episodes, but basically there are 2 episodes in our archive. Don't ask us where. Ask another listener. Never ask us. Someone DM'd me on Instagram the other day to ask me for a specific episode date and time or whatever for something I talked about, but years ago. It's like, don't ask us for that, right? We don't know. But there are 2 episodes somewhere in the archive. One's about me selling my car to a squaddy who'd just got back from, was it Basra? Yeah, Basra. And
Basran.
Basra. I've been in Basran. There was let me guess, was there a massive terror attack? Yeah, there was.
Fucking yeah.
How could you guess?
Everywhere.
I know a thing or two about Basran. He'd come back from Basran, and then there's another one about me buying a car from a man in East Sussex, and
in a field, wasn't it?
It was in it was sort of like
a farm.
It was. I got the vibe it was a farm, but like I say, I was I was even more urban then than I am now. Like now, I'm quite countryside adjacent, whereas then I was like, why are we in some woods? It must be a farm.
Yeah, it was one of those places in the countryside where there's some kind of outbuilding / structure, but you're not sure whether it's a farm or not. There was loads of
trees, there was a field, there was a building. I didn't know. I didn't want to ask questions. I'd been discombobulated, and that discombobulation played straight into the vendor's hands. But no, if you want to talk about selling a car, listen to my one where I sell it to the squaddy.
I don't know. Haggling with someone that's come to look at it. Don't know.
The last time I sold a car, I went to We Buy Any Car, mate, and it was brilliant. It was really good. Have you ever used them? You've used them, haven't you?
I've not used it, but I feel as though that might not be everyone's experience. I think
I know
do a big checklist of things.
When it started, it had a bad reputation, and they give you one price online without seeing the car. Then they arrange to meet you at somewhere quite far from your house, in some woods or on a farm, wood/farm type area. Right, please proceed to your nearest wood/farm type area, and then they go, oh no, hang on, now we've seen it, we're only going to offer you half of that, and by that stage you've driven all the way to the woods, so you just go, fuck it. But that wasn't my experience. I think they sharpened up their practices after the early criticism. My experience was I put in truthful answers online, they quote me a price, I turned up on the day of all the paperwork somewhere quite near my house, he just fucking fanned through the paperwork and done deal. Money dropped in my account. Once I saw it there on my phone, I fucked off. He did try to engage me in chat about what car I was replacing it with, which I found boring and annoying. So I walked out almost in the middle of him talking. All right, Jeremy Clarkson. I like to do things when people do things like that. They go, so what kind of car are you thinking? So is it an upgrade? I don't know what you mean, mate. I'm just getting another car. What kind of what model are you going for? Well, I'll just go, it's a black car. Yeah, but what sort of... I don't... Just say, I don't know.
Cars.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's got 4 wheels. It's black. It's got a steering wheel. I don't know what it's called. Bye, James May.
All right, well, sorry we can't help you with that, but yeah, there is an episode. We're building up an audio encyclopedia to life, I think.
Yeah, it's almost every subject. We've done churches now. We could do the A to Z, couldn't we?
Yeah.
C is for cunt and churches.
Right, that's it then. We'll have another go at some more of the life logistics next week. Can't promise anything, obviously, but goodbye.
Goodbye.